let's get into the program because I'm going to try to help some people, some innocent victims that appeared on this program. I'm going to give some advice to them, the wrestlers, the poor beleaguered wrestlers that maybe they can take under advisement since this program's not doing anything for them. And I'm going to try not to just scream and chew nails for 2 hours. So I will say at the top of the program that this is a commentary, and then I will move on as quickly as possible and not beat the dead horse. But this is weeks now that Tony Khan has started the program with an A&P championship match involving the company mascot, our little puppy Pockets, because one time he did one good rating on a show, despite every evidence to the contrary of every other program. They kept the rating through one fucking television program with Pockets on first, so he gives it to us a month straight. Why didn't he learn anything from all the viewers that the EVPs lost every week for 2 months? He didn't adjust because of those numbers, but he adjusts because he gets a fluke. So, the opening match was Pockets and Jay Lethal, and it's not just sad, it's a shame that Jay Lethal, with the talent and experience, the qualities that he brings to the table as a wrestler, as an employee, as a person, that he doesn't have the WWE after him for a big contract. I was surprised we were able to sign him in Ring of Honor in 2012. TNA was fucking foolish enough to let his contract go. And I couldn't believe they didn't want him then. And it's a shame the only other national TV option is a company that has no idea how to use him, and he's reduced to having to cooperate with and getting stunk up by the company mascot. It's embarrassing to the wrestling business in general, Tony's fixation with this fucking guy. But now it's criminal misuse of good talent that has to go along with this. And you know Jay has to be frustrated. He's capable of and deserves better than this. But that's, I'm at a loss for words. And that's why I think if you're a young wrestler who has it mentally and you think you've got talent and believe you got a shot, you're serious about your business, do you want to take a chance now? Vince is gone, supposedly, from creative at least, but do you want to take a chance on Triple H making you look like a goof in NXT, or AEW if you might be humiliated on national television having to put over the puppy? And again, and
it did wonders for Adam Cole.
Oh, God. Well, he'll be fantastically over when he comes back, Adam Cole, because of his triumph over the concussion issue. If he hadn't had the concussion issue right now, he wouldn't be able to sell pussy on a troop train, much less a wrestling ticket, because of the way he was going. And again, with Jay here, but it's not at this point. Even though Goofball here was trying, he wrestled this week for the most part. What that tells you is anybody can do this. He comes out, and the Puddin' Gang comes out with him from the start. It looks like a fucking Saturday Night Live parody. He comes out with his fucking outfit, and there's Muffin Top and Cupcake, whoever the fuck, the Puddin' Gang, and Danhausen made up. And then they wish him well and go to the back. How do you think that Trent and Muffin Top feel when the biggest joke wrestler in the business is on TV and their careers are so moribund that they're just the clowns that see him off and then go back to the back?
Well, they like the checks.
But anyway, and Lethal comes out, and he's got Jeff and Sanjay and Zippy, and the referees come out to send them back. And did you see Aubrey Ed shoving guys and pointing wildly and sticking her ass out for emphasis? And I was afraid she was going to trample somebody. And so she's showing off. And then they made sure to remind us it's 1-1. This is their third match, Lethal and Pockets. And so they remind us that already Pockets has beaten this guy one. And the announcer, by the way, did you hear when the announcer audio got piped into the arena and everybody would shit themselves? And oh my God, what the fuck?
That was the highlight of the show. Did I hear that? That was the best part of this entire program.
So Pockets is 22-1 in AEW and 14 wins straight. Can you imagine if a talent was given that push? And so anyway, that's the thing. In this one, Pockets tried to wrestle because he used to do it in Chikara. If he doesn't wrestle, it's the phony gimmick that makes business look like shit. And if he does wrestle, then it proves that any bland, unimpressive, skinny goofball in blue jeans can do this, so it devalues the business. This guy would never be looked at seriously in any type of major promotion. I don't know that we would have accepted him in the OVW training program. And Tony thinks he's cute. So they have the match. It went on too long. And then finally, Pockets hit Roman Reigns' finish, 1, 2, 3, and beat Jay Lethal, except he didn't hit it because the punch missed. For one thing, but then he beat Jay Lethal 1, 2, 3 on national television. God damn it. And then Jeff Jarrett jumped in from behind and laid Pockets out with the stroke and broke the guitar over his knee and got a ton of heat because people in the building, they love this fucking clown. But we were 22 minutes into this program by the time that was done. And unfortunately, it will be announced later on that next week, and we'll get to what Tony said and how he said it, but next week it's going to be Jeff versus Pockets. Except, I smell a title change. Because I smell that Jeff Jarrett wouldn't work with this motherfucker if he was going to do a job for him. Now that I've said that,
yes, he would. Yes, he would. He would do anything.
No. This is why I believe that they've given the clown 3 or 4 weeks of wins on television because some way or another, Jeff sees a way to get some fucking heat off this guy and work with somebody that means something. That's what I'm thinking. And he has pitched it to Tony, who was probably impressed that he actually had a wrestling angle pitched to him that went 3 weeks and ended up with being able to use the fucking goofball for some productive reason. But anyway, I don't see Jeff Jarrett doing a job this early as he's coming to company for this fucking guy. We'll see what happens.
That's where Jeff's positioned on these shows. He's not anything special. I could see him doing the job there. Tony loves Orange Cassidy. Then they've
completely lost their fucking minds then. Because then that would be, 5 weeks in a row that we've had to suffer through this for no payoff. Just stroking this guy's dick, putting him over. He'll never go anywhere and he'll never mean anything. I promise you, the only people that want to see this fucking guy are the people that are already watching. He will not bring you a goddamn soul to the table that's not already there. Nevertheless, speaking of people that aren't already there, so Wardlow got his fucking rental car broken into and all of his gear, including the title belt, stolen. He's the TNT champion, right? That's his, right? I'm trying to confirm that.
Yes.
I can't remember one title from another because there's so many of them. So they've covered that is why he can't be dressed and there's no belt later in the program. And then Hobbs was with Renee, and he's got a good delivery. He needs a little bit of bass in his voice. I'm talking about conviction, a little bit more maybe a little deeper too, but a little bit more conviction, a little bit more confidence there. But he's got, again, all the tools. So then here comes Ricky Starks. Brian, here's a question. The people love him. the people are bringing the house down when he comes out. The same thing as they do for Pockets. But this guy has a chance to actually bring normal people into watching this program. Why isn't he 22-1 with 14 straight? I've seen Ricky Starks get beat like a government mule over the past 6 months.
Because he wasn't Tony's favorite.
He didn't, you know what I mean? Because Tony didn't dress up like Ricky Starks for Halloween. That's the difference between getting beat like a redheaded stepchild every week and being 22-1 with 14 straight. So he says, what's next after Jericho? That's what everybody's asking him. That's what everybody's talking about. And then he says, I'm not sure. And the only other thing he's able to get out is, it's not necessarily what I'm going to do next, but where I'm going to go next. And then music interrupts him. But let's unpack this for a second before we get to the next part of this fiasco. Why would you have a babyface come out after he's beat Chris Jericho now twice, and they still kind of worked it to where I don't know if he's any better off for it. But even what's next, I'm not sure. And then say it's not where I'm going to go, or what I'm going to do, but where I'm going to go, which everybody thinks that means he's going to leave AEW. That would be the only reason you would drop that hint or say that line.
And enough of that. You can't keep doing that.
Well, yeah,
I'm such a big star here, I'm going to leave. Like,
yeah, because it's happened, and it probably happened again. But why would he be, I don't understand, and I know somebody's going to say, well, wait till a story play out. No, you get the impression from this guy that he's not happy where he is, and he wants to get the fuck out. And maybe they don't see the TV in 2 or 3 weeks or the YouTube episode where you explain this, but...
Or they're playing up the idea that he was caught with Cody at the Royal Rumble. Who knows?
But then most people don't know that. So... Anyway,
is this the worst? I mean, I shouldn't say that because it takes in a lot. But for AEW, have they ever done a worse job of following up a pay-per-view with a Dynamite? For everyone that was involved with that pay-per-view, Dynamite did nothing to help anyone.
they blur in my mind, but I mean, this has to be one of the stellar examples of not. But as soon as he said that, which had only been 30 seconds or whatever, music and the Bullet Club logo showed up on the screen. And then into the ring from behind and attacking Ricky Starks is the incomparable Juice Robinson, who we have seen, 3 times on TV about 6 or 8 months ago? Was it last summer?
We may have seen him 3 or 4 times over 2 years, including last.
Well, yeah, no, ago. I mean ever 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And he hits in street clothes, and like everybody in the world is supposed to know who this fucking guy is. And they announce, oh, it's Juice Robinson. I think they even said we haven't seen him in a while.
Thank God he cued the guy with the big image on the screen.
So it was the same angle as 10 minutes beforehand where a guy jumps in the ring and fucking, gets jumped and from behind, and he hits a reverse DDT on Starks that looked kind of wicked and stood over him. So Starks got a 30-second promo and then was laid out by a guy that most people have no fucking clue who the fuck he is, unless you watch New Japan, which I believe their ratings on Access were 90 or 100,000 people as opposed to 6 or 7 or 800,000.
I don't even think it was that high.
And he's been off TV for 6 months. Suddenly he comes in, lays fucking...
You know what, though? You know what? A couple things I thought about here. One, as soon as you see that Bullet Club sign, you just groan. They were kind of lame for years, but especially now, no one wants to see that. Secondly, last year, things were kind of looking all right. Not great, but Punk's segments were good. Danielson was just coming off a pretty good, interesting period of time.
FTR.
Things were happening. Then the TV went to complete shit because they were building up that New Japan crossover event, Forbidden Door.
That's right. Even before the all-out scrum, TV for a month or 6 weeks was dismal.
Didn't that start in the spring? Is that going to start again? I mean, the TV's been awful now. So the TV's worse now than it was a year ago. Are they going to now insert all this New Japan stuff into the show again?
Well, they're inserting as much as they can possibly insert. This looks like a gape fetish video for wrestling with all the insertions there. So, speaking of being inserted, they go back to Tony Schiavone with Wardlow, who was making fun of losing his gear. He's wearing an FTR shirt. But again, he had decent delivery here, but the material, he challenged Hobbs. They're already working. He is already wrestling Powerhouse Hobbs for the title in the main event of the television program. But now he challenges him to make it a Falls Count Anywhere, anything goes match. Lazy booking. Why?
How about the reasoning, though? Since I have no clothes and someone stole my gear, why don't we just make it Falls Count Anywhere?
Yeah, then it would. How about a street fight? Come dressed as you are, and it would happen in the. That doesn't. Oh my God. So now he's handicapped these poor young fellas.
And this is a good thing, by the way. Tony will get another belt. Tony probably has 7 other belts already there to hand out.
No, he said he does.
Yeah.
He did an interview saying that he's already had other belts made. He's waiting for the chance to introduce them.
Yeah, so that, and then, remember, Wardlow wore that swimsuit that glittered at the pay-per-view. Whatever causes him to get new gear, I'm all for that.
All right, but moving on. Because you know the question in everybody's mind, the burning question of the day, why, Ruby, why? Renee Moxley-Good was in the ring with Ruby Soso and by Saraya and Storm. Now they're doing a deal where they come out to the entrance for moral support also and then see her off. And then now, obviously, they come out for the entrance. If she gets in trouble or after the match, you know you're going to see them. So, Ruby's promo, you all created this monster. I thought Hobbs was using that 3 months ago. It looks better on. I know Ruby, when she first gets up in the morning before makeup, she may look like a monster, but Hobbs looks like a fucking monster. I'm not scared of Ruby Soso. But her story is that people booed her against Britt Baker and then against Chris Statlander. How long ago was that? Because she's been out injured again for 6 months.
What a great way to tease her comeback. Just randomly bring up her name. She got a pop, too. Randomly bring up her name in the middle of a promo.
Well, also, they're still in California. They can't, AEW, the whole roster is still in California. They can't afford the bus fare to get the fuck out. They can't get as far as goddamn Needles. So she got booed against Statlander last year, I guess. And then they booed her when Hayter beat her because that's when Hayter was getting to be really popular. And they lost the opportunity to turn her on Britt. And then Ruby says the fat, mouth-breathing, neck-beard trolls turned on Saraya. Well, she got a point there.
Well, no, but didn't she say that they really wanted Saraya to make a comeback? Who did? I didn't want any of this on the show. I didn't want this promo on the show. These are the segments that kill the show.
In all honesty, Ruby Soso did a hell of a promo here, but the whole story is a fucking mess. She did a great job with crap material and nobody cares, but she did a good job with it. Now take that for, what it's worth. Because I wrote, Ruby is doing a heck of a promo, even though this whole thing is a fucking mess. And then she called out her opponent, Blue Sky. And here came Blue Sky.
Sky Blue.
That's what I said. And they had a match, and Ruby beat her up, and it went through a break. And then it came back, and she won. And then Storm and Saraya came back down to paint Sky Blue green. Orange, you glad I said that? And then here comes...
Come on.
Here comes Willow Nightingale out by herself. There's 3 heels in the ring. She hits the ring by herself. Soraya and Storm bail out. And Willow's talking to Ruby because they used to be friends. And then the heels that bailed out walked around the ring and just came in behind. So they jumped Willow from behind. 3 jump from behinds, 3 matches in a row. And then they painted both of them. But they just kind of painted lines on them, didn't they? Did they paint letters, or did one get the downstroke of L and the other one got the sideways?
Yeah, I mean, it's an L, so it's easy to do.
Did you understand, or was there a reason why this needed to take up what seemed like between 15 and 20 minutes of television time?
There's no reason why any of this should be on the show. There's no reason why Tony should have given Saraya that contract. There's no reason why the women's division should be getting the time it's getting, considering the state of it right now. And there's no reason that if you're going to use any of these women and try to do something serious, it should have bad angles and bad series of angles and then bad embarrassing matches on TV. I just don't think they have any idea what they're doing right now. The fans don't want to see Saraya. It's not that they've turned on Saraya. They've said, please leave. There are people on this show that even the most diehard AEW fans are like, come on, we want to see something else.
There's never been any reason for me to think about you.
I don't think anyone wants to see this.
Save my life, I'm going down for the last time. What was the name of the Head East album that immortal hit was
I
on?
have no idea. I don't know that.
Flat as a pancake, baby.
Well, so is the audience reaction to a lot of these segments. But no, this is not good.
Yeah. Well, and they're out there, they've either got the Falls Count Anywhere match or the fake Texas Death match where they're setting up tables and chairs and ladders and propping stuff up on each other, shop class projects, or they got the girls here where they got the spray paint can, and one of them has some wood putty and the other one's got a thing of caulk. And I bet you one of those girls is going to caulk the other one before the time's up. I'm telling you, it looks like a raging band of renegade home improvers just running around they're trying to build things, paint people. They're trying to make new gimmicks and fix these broken down old wrestlers up. But they just don't have the experience of the professionals, Brian. The home improvement professionals.
Yes, of course.
Now you see where I'm going here.
Well, kind of.
No,
yes.
No. Let me explain something, folks. If you want your home improved, you don't want these off-brand shade tree carpenters coming in, leaning ladders up that they're going to break and then have referees run in to hold and using sledgehammers that they can't even break a guy's skull with. How are they going to break up that old concrete? And much less with these girls with the cans of spray paint that they just, well, boy, howdy, they can't hit the broadside of a barn with that paint, much less a home improvement project. You want the professionals in charge of making your home look better, and we've talked about it for several weeks now. The folks at West Shore Home, they're the fastest growing shower and bath remodeling company in the United States, and they will stop you from having that nasty, Brian, you've had it many times when your bathtub gets old and it's growing the mold and the mildew and the organisms.
I have not had
and
that,
the bacteria and the fungus and all the little furry things that when you look under the microscope, you see these things. They've got 5 eyes and 6 legs and 10 ears, and they're chewing on you every time you get in your rotten, mold-riddled bathtub. Or if you get in your rotten, mold-riddled shower with all the gratin, that's the rotten grout, all that gratin down there, well, then you're getting a fungus that attaches itself to your feet. Then you walk from your shower to your bedroom and you get in bed and you put your bare feet in the bed, and then the fungus is in the bed with your naked dangly bits. You'll get flesh-eating bacteria on your penis as a result of having a dirty shower.
What are you talking about?
And you don't want that to happen.
No, you don't. I don't know why you're talking about any of this.
Like, do you know how many people that their penises annually in the United States alone rot off because of dirty showers and bathtubs? You don't know, do you?
You don't know either. There's no way you know this either.
It's a lot.
You don't know that.
Problem.
Based on what? What are you basing this on?
Based on conversations I've had with people I've talked to.
Where?
And things that I've heard.
At the post office?
Listening.
Where?
Yeah, so in line at the post office, I kept my ears open. And I'll tell you something else. When you're sitting in an old dirty bathtub, that impermeable green ring around about your belly button area that you can't wash off, that's coming from that dirty water. So you need clean showers and bathtubs to promote general health and welfare and the pursuit of domestic tranquility. And that's what the folks at West Shore Home are doing. They're going to fully replace your old shower or bathtub with their modern showers or baths in just one day, because it's all part of their plan, their scheduling plan. First, they send out an expert, a home remodeling design consultant, and they'll send them out mornings, afternoons, evening, weekends, constantly until you open the door. Now, whenever you want them, they'll be there.
Oh, yes.
And together with them, you will design and build, basically in your dreams, your dream shower or bath just the way you want it. They've got the designs, the laser etched stuff, built-in seats. You know, I've got a seat in the corner of my shower, Brian, in the office, in case I get tired walking across it. They've got the shelves, the doors, the windows, magnetic shower heads. Maggie, you can trick this thing out like the daggum space shuttle if you want to. And then a couple of days later, after you design it, the remodeling professionals come in, one-day bath replace. They will knock your old bathtub or shower. They'll just take that thing right out the back of your house, the whole wall and everything, be out in the backyard, and they'll fix it up nice for you, and it'll be ready for dinner. And I still think that it's very rude if you don't invite the professionals, the workers, for dinner in your brand new bathroom. You don't have to eat dinner in your bathroom. You can eat at the table, but serve that. You know, just flop the toilet lid down, put the plate on the toilet lid, give the guy he can sit on the edge of the tub and reward him for his hard work. But it'll be ready to use before dinner. That's in case also you're dirty and you want to wash up before you eat. That's always recommended. You have no work in this. As the consumer, you are merely sitting back, watching the magic happen by the West Shore Home professionals. And they do windows and doors, and you can check out their website, which of course is westshorehome.com. You can check that out to see which locations you can request the free window and door remodeling preview. They actually have the windows and doors come out one at a time to music and walk down a runway so that you can take a look and see which ones you like.
At this point, I can't even walk any of these back. It's so ridiculous.
Well, folks, it's not ridiculous about the quality
dancing
and value.
Windows and doors. Yeah, no.
The quality, I didn't say they were dancing. They just walked. They were down the catwalk. They walked down the catwalk.
All right, right set Jim.
They're just sexy enough for your home. Anyway, yes, folks, you can get a brand new bathroom, shower, tub, windows, doors. I don't know, they might even branch out into roofs pretty soon. They're making a lot of money off our sponsorship. So, folks, again, if you live in any of the magic regions that you can call West Shore home if you live in or around Louisville, Lexington, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Pittsburgh, Harrisburg, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Richmond, Salisbury, Virginia Beach, Winston-Salem, Charlotte, Greenville, Asheville, Knoxville, Chattanooga, Charleston, Wilmington, Myrtle Beach, Greenville, New Bern, Columbia, Atlanta, Jacksonville, Orlando, Ocala, Tampa, Birmingham, Huntsville, Montgomery, Oklahoma City, Houston, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, Phoenix, Denver, Colorado Springs, Salt Lake City, Anaheim, Azusa, and Cucamonga. Go right now to promo.westshorehome.com/Jim. promo.westshorehome.com/Jim and look at the marvelous array of doors, windows, baths, showers, cars, boats, planes, trains. I don't know what the fuck all they got on there, but go there and put the /Jim on and they'll take good care of you.
That's right. West Shore Home.
Whew. All right.
All right.
What else?
Did you like that beat I gave you behind you?
Yeah, I was afraid that you were having a stroke and you were trying to signal for help over there.
No, that was actually Tony Atlas getting stomped. I thought it would sound interesting. I wanted to see if you went longer than he did getting stomped.
Well, I've always been able to last longer than Tony when he's getting stomped, but nevertheless. So, the next part of the AEW program, can you answer this question for me. Why, after what happened at the pay-per-view, would they assign Hangnail Adam Page to be interviewed by Renee Moxley Good, his opponent Plumber Moxley's wife?
There have been so many awkward Renee Moxley Good promo segments in the last few weeks, mostly with Adam Page, but even a thing with Don Callis, like I told you in the pre-show, where all of a sudden she's talking about her husband. And it just creates this weird, awkward dynamic. And why is it still happening? I don't know.
But why?
After the pay-per-view, after we thought they finished everything, I don't know.
Oh, boy.
We'll find out, but yeah.
But why would she want to? I know somebody, well, they're professional and then they're assigned her. No, you dumb shit. It makes business look like fucking shit if after what they did, they were hitting each other in the head with bricks. They weren't selling it, but they were doing it. Why wouldn't she say, I'm not going to talk to that guy? Why wouldn't he say, fuck that guy and his fucking wife? I'm not talking to her. He's out here again. They're trying to do this. This is apparently, I don't know, WWE wants to do wrestling as a Nickelodeon kids fucking touring show or Yo Gabba Gabba or whatever. And AEW wants to do wrestling for and by socially awkward misfits. And neither production is particularly appealing because of that. But he's out there trying to do this. Oh, I didn't want to be so dark and go to a dark place, a dark, phony place. It would have been a dark place if we'd have believed any of it. But since it was so preposterous and stupid, we didn't. But I didn't want to go to a dark place, but I've proven now, if you try me, I'll take you to hell. I'll rip off your flesh. I'll choke you until life all but leaves your body. That's an exact quote from Hangnail Page. And that was said.
And about as convincing.
In the most unemotional, unconvincing, nerdy sounding way possible. Like a teenager talking tough on Twitch. And then they have the interplay where he apologizes to Renee for what he did Sunday, but I'm done with Moxley now. That's thank fucking God is what I said. But as we'll find out, he's a liar.
And how many times are we going to see that? We just saw Ricky Starks come out there a couple weeks ago. I'm done with Jericho. I'm moving on. And then he wasn't done with him. I'm done with Moxley. No, you're not. No one's ever done with anything here.
No, but I'm about to be done. But also, who do they think this appeals to? When he's, I don't want to go to this dark place, but I'll rip off your flesh. I'll choke you until life. And he's standing there, a mushed mouth pussy is what he is. We've established he's not a fucking cowboy. This is not Stan Hansen. This is Howdy fucking Doody. And he gets his feelings. He had the chance to fight Punk. He wouldn't fucking do it. Because the fight with Moxley is fake, where they're not really hitting each other over the head with those bricks. Yeah, he'll fucking take that one and chew the flesh and eat the blood and drink the bones or whatever. But he could have fucking told Punk, hey, don't talk to me like that if you're mad at something I did. Let's fucking go out here. He chose to decline from that one.
Well, again, that's real life as opposed to this.
Well, and it's obvious that this is not real life. They make it more and more obvious all the time. Anyway, speaking of real life, something they actually can't control. Another entity on Tony Khan's roster has gotten themselves over with their hard work and their talent and their determination and their matches in every other promotion but his. FTR. Despite the rotten, lousy booking and the Bucks ghosting them on that third match where they would have all the belts so they could go play with their friends and not have to do that job. And the ridiculous other shit they've been at, which Cash listed in the promo, all the losses that they had had. And you know they lost all those other companies' belts because the goddamn promise that those other companies were made that the AEW World Champions would also have all of their belts. That never came to fruition. So they got everything taken away from them because Tony Khan didn't know how to book them and the EVPs didn't want them booked. But they come out and do an in-ring interview with Tony Schiavone, and people are standing up and cheering and chanting for them. So loud, they say, "You got to speak up, Tony. We can't hear you." Because they were missed because they went away. And they didn't go away on purpose. Regardless of what they went away because what the fuck? How many times can you show up every week and be humiliated and beat down on national television before you finally say, you know what? We'll back up and nurse a few injuries here. They did a great babyface promo. They talked about all they've lost, but somehow they made it into a positive. Because the fans have sympathy for them because of the rotten booking. This on a much, much larger scale is the Midnight Express in Philadelphia in 1990. Or Baltimore. Every time we'd show up in the Northeast, as those towns got smart, and we were always doing the job, and they knew that Herd was fucking with us because of the early newsletters. We were baby faces because they appreciated that they were giving us appreciation for the talent since our own company wasn't. Everywhere on a mass national scale, with everybody being in on it now instead of just 5% of the audience maybe, that's what's happening to FTR. They feel sorry for them because they want to see more of them. They are the best team in wrestling, and they've been jacked around by the company they work for. And then they, basically cut the promo where they say, we can't, in all good conscience, let the Guns call themselves the best team in the world, and we're back to fix that. And it was a breath of fresh air on this program because not only a good promo to build interest in something we care about in a positive business fashion from grown adult men who got over on talent and finished strong in the promo without being cut off, jumped, or beat down. It was almost like it was a different program altogether. Your thoughts on the almost impossible hill they have to climb of all the green teams they have to work with?
We'll see what happens. Good promo. I actually thought Cash did really well here.
He did, both of them. And
well, we hear Dax. I feel like we hear
yeah.
Dax talk a lot more in these promos. Cash doesn't stand out. Cash did really good here.
I wish they had somebody to fucking work with. And unfortunately, the Briscoes will not be engaging in any more tag team matches. And from that, the Guns, because they have the belts, and the Guns can learn from being in the ring with FTR, but who is a great tag team match that they can work with in AEW or Ring of Honor as a tag team? Bennett and Taven, Jeff and Lethal. Can't think of anybody else.
Yeah, and I don't know how many people are going to want to see, Jeff and Lethal anymore. You like them more than anyone else wants to see them.
I'm just talking about a good quality wrestling match. I'm not even talking about anything that'll draw money.
Aussie Open, actually.
Oh, what?
They just showed up randomly for a battle royal for no reason. They can't do a little mini program with FTR. There are no other options.
Well, but no, I'm talking about a good tag team match with a good team where you just have a good match. Is there anyone?
I'll give you someone, although it wouldn't work the perfect way because FTR are baby faces. But if you need Top Flight to learn how to be a tag team, that's who you put them in the ring with.
Yeah, but again, do we give up on these guys again as drawing money and just say, well, let's just put them in to fucking teach other teams how to work?
They're not going to draw money if they don't have anyone else in the division. You have to start building up someone else in the division.
Yeah, but there's difference between training and building. See, the thing is, you always have a situation where you've got a younger team that can benefit by being in the ring with whoever the veterans are in whatever era or roster or whatever. But if you have a great tag team, you either have them working with guys that need training and teaching them something and going over them, or working to build a program with a team that's already ready to be in a main event program. You can't do the on-the-job training and get them over to be legitimate main eventers all at the same fucking time. Even Flair didn't do that with Sting. Sting had goddamn been working a variety of people for, 3 years at that point. It was just a 3-year overnight success at the Clash of Champions. But you can't do both at the same time. You can either train the young guys and make them look better after you've wrestled them when you beat them and move on to your program, or you can work and build it with a team for your program. But you can't do both at the same time. Anyway. And by the way, Jane Cargill is 53-0. What would they be saying about Wardlow right now if he was 53-0? I wonder. We'll get to that in a minute, too. I'm going to bring up something that maybe they could have done instead of what they have done. But first, we get the 6-man tag team match. Brian, what'd you think of Jericho and Sammy and Garcia against Top Flight and AR Fox?
I don't want to talk too much about the match, but I was intrigued by the post-match.
Well, this was the top of the 9 o'clock hour segment. And they went to the break after 3 minutes of match at 9:02. So that kind of defeats the purpose of having a top of the fucking 9 o'clock segment. But this was neither star power nor a gripping match that would keep people. And then they didn't even keep them to begin with. They sent them to break. But Hager hit Darius in the back with a bat, and then Jericho hit the Judas on him, 1, 2, 3. And Hager looked even more ridiculous than ever in whatever the fuck he was wearing. And my God, what a free ride this fucking guy's got. Just. Anyway, then they all have to talk. Cool Hand Luke starts talking. And that's why they're still in California. And by the way, what is Light the Beam? There were signs saying light the beam, and he said, everybody's going to light the beam. And then they chanted, light the beam. What is the beam, and why does it need lighting? And then Daddy Mac, he yelled some. He sounds like Cyndi Lauper, but his voice is not quite as deep, but with the New Jersey accent or whatever. And they say that they're the number one contenders for the 6-man tag team title and challenge the House of Black. And then the lights go out, but Kansas music plays. And, I really used to like Kansas. They've ruined Kansas for me now. Here come, well, they don't come, they're out there in the entranceway. Kenny and the Buckaroos. And Kenny does his usual douchebag promo voice, and so we've avoided each other and stayed away from your universe or whatever for like 3 years, but these are our 6-man belts, you bastards. No, that was more exciting than what he did say. He just said, well, they're laying claim to the 6-man belts. And then to save it, thank fuck, have you ever been happy to see Don Fallis before? He runs out and jerks the microphone out of Kenny's hand. People stood up and applauded. No,
he sucks too. Don't pretend he doesn't suck.
Well,
too.
No, but there's levels. At least he's sucking right now because of the situation he's in, the people he's surrounded himself with, and the way that he's made himself look. But at least he picked up the energy level on the microphone from Twinkle Toes. And he cut the promo on Jericho, knocking him for being the second best wrestler ever from Winnipeg. And third, if he had a few months to get in shape. I thought Bulldog Bob Brown was from Winnipeg. He's better than Kenny. Anyway, so Jericho challenges them right here, right now. Let's do it. And then the lights go out again. There's that heel fucking lighting guy again. And then this was where they jumped the shark. The House of Black was on the screen. And they're in their normal dark room. And they're obviously live because they're referring to what has just been happening. Hey, boys, you don't need to fight. You don't need to argue amongst each other. If you want these, and they held up the 6-man belts, and then the lights went out again. And then the lights come back on, and now the House of Black is standing in the aisleway in between the Jericho appreciators in the ring and the fucking Buckaroos on the stage, and he finishes his sentence, come get 'em, in the space of 10 seconds. So they exposed their own business. because I don't think anybody believes that they legitimately teleported themselves from that dark room through space to that spot in 10 seconds. So they pre-taped the dark room where they were reacting to shit that wasn't happening because it hadn't happened yet. Just to do a cool spot that a bunch of people who do not have female lips around their dicks on a regular basis would applaud for. And then the lights went out again. And when the lights came back on again, the House of Black was gone. And Jericho was screaming at the floor camera like a maniac because he realized that they were being stood left in the ring like a spare prick at the wedding. And the Buckaroos, because they're used to being spare pricks at a wedding, they just fucking wandered off. And this whole thing from entrances to match to the end of promo, and then the poor man's David Copperfield, Chris Angel routine vanishing in the darkness was over 20 fucking minutes. Your thoughts?
I initially was intrigued, although I think it's ridiculous. If you're going to do a run-in or confront someone, you should be able to just do it without music playing, without a big image, all of these things, let alone not doing a run-in or anything, just standing there to do your pose. There's a time and a place for all these things. I was intrigued by the idea. We asked the other day, what does Jericho do next? You know what? Jericho and Guevara and Garcia feuding with the Elite? That could be interesting. It'll be nuts. We'll have lots to laugh about and complain about. But I wonder what's going to happen there. And then the spooky shit. And it's like, fuck! Like even House of Black. If House of Black was exactly who they are minus smoke and teleporting, I'd probably like them a whole lot better. But as soon as they do this shit, as soon as they show that they have magical powers, that takes me completely out of it. They're doing this match in Winnipeg. Three-way, six-person, well, I guess not three-way trios tag team title match.
There's 9 of them.
9 of them in Winnipeg. You don't think he's going to hotshot this belt in Winnipeg, do you? Consider you have Kenny and you have Jericho?
Well, again, here's the problem. It might be interesting there's 3 of Jericho's guys, and there's 3 of the House of Black, and there's 3 of the Buckaroos. So now that we know that they all have a common goal of the 6-man tag team title, then, yeah, if they got into a program, well, it might be interesting. But now that they're going to have the 3-way match next week, so they're either doing a 7-day program, or they're doing, as Tony usually does, the program in reverse order and having the blow-off match first, to where that each succeeding match will have less interest than the previous one did, which is Tony's normal pattern. Even if you were going to have these teams mad at each other and work toward each other, you don't do the 3-way as the first fucking match. You're an imbecile. Speaking of the imbecile, he did his own announcement this week, and he almost got through it without looking like he fucking snorted half a Peru before he came out. So he announces that Pockets wants Jeff Jarrett next week. So we've just seen the final defense of the A&P title, and next week, for the very good reason that we want to support the release of Shazam the movie, we're going to change the title or the name of the A&P title to the international title.
Level up. We're going to level up.
We're going to level up what is that like? Is that the subtitle of Shazam? Is it Shazam Level Up?
Well, it's video game talk. It's in video games you level up.
Seriously?
Yes.
I thought he just made some shit. We're going to level up the title. I thought, what the fuck? It's on the level or level. If that was the subtitle of the movie or what the fuck? I thought he just made some shit up, but that's a video game term. So what is leveling up in a video game? making everything even again? Or
you go to the next level. You get more power, more whatever. You went from level 4 to level 5, and 5 is better than 4. You could do more. Depends on the game. I answered nothing, but I hope you enjoyed my answer.
Oh, my God. So now, this title that meant nothing before and represented nobody when it was the All-Atlantic title, now we'll just make it the international title so it represents even more phony fucking area that nobody cares about. And we're going to do that because we see it done in video games.
Well, no, he's using a term that comes originally from video games.
I don't know what the fuck. He made up a title and now he's changed the fucking name of it. And then they went to clips of the movie Shazam and AEW wrestlers interspersed. In what way do they have anything to do with young Billy Batson?
Why did Tony have to make this announcement himself? At this point now, he teased a big announcement that was a major letdown to just about everyone a few weeks ago. Now it's another one. Now he's made it so that the next time Tony Khan makes an announcement, are you going to shrug or are you going to pay attention? That's what he's done, because now he's just hotshotting himself on TV.
Well, he made an announcement that his favorite wrestler is going to get an even bigger fake title in a match next week and pitched to clips of his wrestlers interspersed with a new movie for no reason.
Yeah, why don't you just name it the Shazam Championship then? If you're doing it in honor of the movie, name it the Shazam Championship, as opposed to renaming it, because I guess this is his way. This has to be his way of admitting without saying it. Yeah, it shouldn't have been called the All-Atlantic Championship, considering some of the flags on the belt, considering where I want it defended, all of these things.
He picked the wrong ocean.
It's a mess, though. I mean, when I saw that, that's when I couldn't believe this show. He didn't blink. He just stared at the camera, and he didn't know how to end what he was saying. And it was so awkward.
He got stuck in a loop at the end where he said the same thing about 3 times because he didn't know exactly where to put the period.
He shouldn't be doing this. This should be Tony Schiavone making official announcements on AEW's behalf. Unless it's something big like, hey, everyone, we've signed Hulk Hogan. Then it shouldn't be Tony Khan making any more announcements on camera.
Well, the next on camera was, again, you go from completely ridiculous to every once in a while of amazing display of the art of whatever wrestling is that we're displaying, verbal or physical or whatever. In this case, Bryan Danielson in the back after the Iron Man match from the pay-per-view, still bleeding, still sitting down, tired out, broke down, talking about the injuries and the effects of the match, and that he figured he was putting himself before his family when he couldn't feel his legs. He was crying, and he ends up with time for me to go home. This was fucking incredible. He made you feel it and believe it. And, you know, and after that match, you could see in the highlights and the B-roll and everything helped. But, you know, that, again, he's got a couple of guys. He's got Danielson. He's got MJF. He had Punk. He's got FTR. That either verbally or physically or both through their performances and the way they structure their shit can take even these batshit goofy little group of fans that he's got that likes the indie-rific shit. They still respond to the professional shit, and other people might be interested in it if they saw it. And if it wasn't cluttered up amidst all this indie outlaw gaga that they're so wrapped up in, that's all that most of his roster has known or can produce, and it ain't getting them nowhere. And it's been 3 years, and he's had time after time that either the homegrown guy, Wardlow, or somebody will get over, or they really want Hater to turn on Baker, or we can't even really use Sammy Guevara as an example anymore because he sabotaged himself, letting people know that he was really a dick. But they wander into these every once in a while, and then they drop the ball on all of them. So Danielson was that great heel at one point. Now he's what a sympathetic baby face. But if it's time for him to go home, will we remember by the time he comes back that we really felt bad for him? But I love this promo, and it was like a minute and a half. It's the best part of the show.
Great promo, and this goes to the kind of product we're always preaching for, something that's serious, that doesn't insult the audience, something that makes you want more. This is what wrestling could be in 2023.
Well, guess what? They made it next. Moxley and Claudio with Useless in the corner against the Dork Order, Little Brutus and his partner, Who-Dat. Because I can never remember his fucking name, but I've never made up a name for him, I think. So from now on, he's Who-Dat. And, of course, they rang the bell, and Moxley and Claudio jumped him, and Moxley threw his guy to the floor and took off after him. He was lynched 3 days before this television program by a supposed grown adult cowboy with a fucking logging chain. He's fine. He's doing good. No lingering ill effects. Just a flesh wound. And this thing went through a break, and at this point, they've made me not want to see Claudio now, who I was so looking forward to when he came to this company. But now he never speaks. He never has a single match. He's joined at the hip with Moxley and Useless. And who gives a shit? And now they've completely switched heels, so Moxley choked out Who-Dat and then put it on him again after the bell and wouldn't break it, and Little Brutus tries to stop, and Claudio gut wrenches him and just throws him over the top like a sack of shit. That was great. Here comes Fat Uno. Every time he runs down the ramp, his tits almost black both his eyes. And basically the BBC beats up all the dorks, and then here comes Paige. And he runs through the ring and yelling, and it was awkward. And then he just turned around and nailed Claudio. And then all three, Moxley and Claudio and Useless, jumped him. And they sent the referees, and they had the chaos, and the bell was ringing. They had everything in this beatdown. They had everything but talent. At least they were doing the other things that we have suggested. But so now we've got all of them beat up we've again Paige and the dorks against the BBC. More? You haven't learned that the reason why Adam Page has been a complete and utter flop, besides the fact he has no personality, is because you paired him with job guys to begin with. You haven't figured out that Useless is now exactly that. He's about as useless as set of tits on a boar hog. And now we're going to see more of this? Help me, Brian.
I can't help you. Jon Moxley just won Wrestler of the Year from The Observer. He just got 5 stars in The Observer for the Adam Page match.
I know, yeah, the Texas death match that was a last man standing match that was the example of everything not to do and how to be completely unprofessional in wrestling. Uncle Dave gave it 5 stars.
Moxley's like the champion of the ninny wrestling fan. He's their main guy. But the people like me, he's the worst wrestler in the world. His matches are terrible. Sold nothing from the match the other day. I wasn't the biggest Claudio fan. Not that I had anything against him, but he was just, to me, like a middle-of-the-road kind of guy. Don't care about him now. Yuta trying to make a tough face or an angry face or a mad face, whatever he's doing. That doesn't work for me. And then who are they working with? The Dark Order. And then it hit me during this. Fuck, we used to complain about everyone needing a faction. Now everyone is in a trios team. Every single person on this show has 2 other people with them at all times. This isn't good. I don't know who wants to see more. Page and Moxley ended fine. It's over. I mean, that was it. That was the big ending. After everything that happened, choked them out. Now they're continuing it. It goes on for no reason. Terrible. The show's booked terrible. This was terrible. Moxley's terrible. I don't want to see any of this.
It's just terrible. It's just terrible. Well, speaking of terrible, but I said I was going to try to help some people. I don't know, it may be too late for these particular people, but maybe maybe somebody's coming down the pipeline that could benefit from this information. The main event was for the TNT title, Powerhouse Hobbs against Wardlow. Falls count anywhere, no DQ, no rules, lazy booking. They're both green. We've talked about this. And this handicaps them even further and increases the injury risk. They're never going to learn when you have them doing nothing but garbage matches. And again, yeah, Hobbs has been there for 3 years. But let's just say that, now let's go crazy. Let's say 6 months ago, they suddenly decided, oh my God, we've got this fucking guy, looks like $1 million, still in his early 30s, obviously motivated to be better, great backstory, let's use him, right? Is it a stretch to think that if you have a wrestling company, regardless of what kind of wrestling you like, if you have a wrestling company and you got a guy like Hobbs on the roster, the Hobbs of 6 months ago, you would say, yeah, let's try to develop him, wouldn't you? Is that controversial?
No, I don't think it's controversial.
Okay. And Wardlow. You've got a guy like Wardlow that already had gotten over by 6 months ago to a big level. People were loving the Powerbomb Symphony and loving his explosiveness. It was being analogies or similarities were being drawn to Goldberg.
He was the most over.
Streak.
He was the most over babyface in the company for a time.
Okay, so it's not unreasonable to think, with the people screaming for this guy, that even though he's green and he's older than he looks, that we should probably try to spend some time and effort in developing him. Right? That's not controversy.
Not at all.
Okay. Then now, 6 months later, instead of doing what they've just done to each of these guys, instead of Wardlow having a goddamn long-running program with a fake lawyer and the security, and then somehow Samoa Joe becoming his tag team partner for 6 weeks so that he could turn heel on him and cut his fucking hair off and emasculate him. Meanwhile, Hobbs is mad for a variety of reasons that we're not completely sure of all of them at both of these fucking guys, and now they're just beating each other up each week on television. What if instead you had said, okay, I've got Hobbs and I've got Wardlow, and it's 6 months ago, so I'm going to give them both the same agent, the same, whatever their agent, producer, whatever they're calling these days, one of the veterans that they have supposedly agenting, producing, setting up these matches. I've seen Pat Buck on camera. I've seen Jerry Lynn on camera. I've seen, who else have I seen? BJ Whitmer.
Ace Steel.
Oh, well, Ace Steel ain't there no more, unfortunately. Point being, of those names that I mentioned, I don't know their whole roster, but I would pick Jerry Lynn because he got 35 years of experience. And Jerry Lynn was a brilliant underdog, kind of babyface, smaller guy, fight from underneath, blah, blah, blah. He would know how a big guy works. So you give Jerry Lynn, Hobbs, and Wardlow to teach them how big men work. You would teach Hobbs the aggression and how to stay on guys and how to make all of your shit look good. I will illustrate here in a second with some things that he's doing, that he's taking shortcuts. You would, with Wardlow as a Hobbs would be a heel, obviously. So you're teaching him aggression and staying on guys, but how to work with a guy to his level. In other words, if you're with a job guy, you give him almost nothing. If you're with a middle level guy, you give him a little something. If you're with a top guy, you give them the most. Psychology things. You would work on vignettes like they started doing. Did one, you made the monster, him working out. He saw his brother murdered in front of him. Maybe he's antisocial. Let's flesh that out. You would have that producer in charge of his vignettes, his matches, and his training, and you would put this guy on TV twice a month, once every 3 weeks for 6 months, getting wins in 4 to 5 minutes convincingly with his finish, and on weeks he wasn't On television, you might have 45 seconds to a minute of him speaking. He's not in a program. He doesn't need to be, because he's establishing his presence in the company and talking about what he wants to achieve while he's beating people. With Wardlow, it's different, but still the same concept. He's a babyface. His producer would teach him not to do these flips and these outrageous athletic movements that he does against job guys, or for no reason or out of nowhere. You would build to it. It would be done in pay-per-view matches or in bigger matches or against more important opponents, or just every once in a while. But more important, you would concentrate on him going on the win streak with the Powerbomb Symphony. Every 2 or 3 weeks for 6 months, he would be on television winning in a minute with the Powerbomb Symphony over everybody that's put in front of him. If he shouldn't beat him in a minute, they ain't put in front of him. But he's at the same time training mentally and psychologically on when to do his big athletic moves and when just to be a dominant physical beast. And he's the one who gets pockets his win streak, or maybe Jane Cargill's win streak. Because Goldberg was 50-something and 0 before they even started fucking gimmicking it and killing that off, because people knew it wasn't real. So then you're talking about, my God, everybody wants to see Wardlow against bigger and better competition. We can't find opponents for Wardlow. Nobody wants to go in there and take a chance on, being a part of the Powerbomb Symphony. He's not an established name, ladies and gentlemen, so the champions and the veterans, they don't want to get in there and be beat by a relative newcomer unknown. So we're having a hard time getting people in the ring with this motherfucker. That's the way you sell that. And then eventually, both of them getting over. One's a face and one's a heel. And they neither one have a title belt because neither one needs it. And you do that and you make sure that in their training, they're understanding that this is the way to get them over. But then they are training to have competitive matches where they can still take care of themselves and their personas and their gimmick. And then when it's finally time, 6 months later, then you have the irresistible force and the immovable object. One of them ends up with a title belt that the other one wants, and then they've never touched. They've never even been in the same universe until it's time. And then you have them work out behind the scenes together for a week or two before their first match or first long or substantive physical confrontation, so that they know exactly what they're going to do when to make the fucking point. And then you might have a program. Or you can do this. You can book the fucking first match to be for the title and make it street fight, no DQ, no time limit, falls count anywhere, anything goes, no rules. And they started the match in the parking garage where they were trying to slam each other's heads in the car doors. And Hobbs took a backdrop through a windshield, legitimately, before the bell even rang. And then they rang the bell right before a vertical suplex on a fucking car hood. And they do 90 seconds of action in the parking garage, and the break spot is Wardlow. After a backdrop through a windshield and a suplex on a car hood, Wardlow hits Hobbs with a plastic drink pallet. And they go to the break. And they made these guys street fight through the break in the back of the building in a picture-in-picture box that's only 18 inches diagonal on my 72-inch screen. And no audio. So for most people watching a television, in a little box with the audio of, oh, get your fucking condoms and goddamn anal lube today at Walgreens. And when they come back to the full program, They're doing the deal where they hold each other lightly and power walk through the arena to get to the ring, like Bruiser Brody and Abdullah in Japan in '88. They'll just walk, just lay hands on each other and walk through the crowd. And both of them immediately get in the fucking ring and no-sell each other's spine busters. Well, that was fucking brilliant. What did either one of you hope to accomplish by that, and who was the goddamn agent? Maybe you didn't tell him you were going to do it. I don't know. But that's brilliant to not sell either guy's spine buster. It doesn't make you look big and bad. It makes the other guy look fucking shitty. Both of you. Because anything that either one of you, the way you look, do to the other guy, he should register, he should sell, it should hurt. I don't care how big he is. We're talking about fucking trains colliding here. There's going to be some fucking damage. And then they do the 1-2 in the ring, and Wardlow's punches are shit. And their trade was blah. It needs to be big. They were trading like lightweights. It was too fast. There was no registering and selling. There was no body language. You draw back and you swing from the fences and you swing for the fences. Bam! And the other guy fucking registers it and rocks back and comes back from downtown. Bam! Oh, shit. Anything these guys do needs to be bigger, not the same or smaller. And at that point, the fans, there was no pop. When Wardlow, also, the F10, don't rip off the name of your finish, especially if you're a babyface, from the biggest goddamn star in the business, because then that just calls attention to him. Wardlow hits his F10 and gets a 2 count, and there's no pop. Because everybody knew that's not the finish. They didn't sell a spine buster or whatever the fuck. And then the fans started chanting, "We want tables." So there's 2 supposed top stars in the ring, and the fans are chanting for the furniture. Because all they're looking at is a stunt show. This was not made to mean anything. It was a disservice to these guys, and these guys are both so green, they may not even realize that this booking is goddamn rotten and abysmal, and that they don't know what they're doing, and nobody's apparently telling them. If they are telling them and nobody's listening. So then Wardlow goes to powerbomb him. And Hobbs slips out by going over Wardlow's back. But instead of landing on his feet, he stumbles and goes down to his knees because he's 300 fucking pounds. And he awkwardly went into the spot they were trying. They should have worked the whole match on, can Wardlow get Hobbs up to powerbomb him? Because it's not just the weight, it's weight that's fighting back. And instead, not only did they establish they can spinebuster each other with no problem, and neither one's going to fucking be hurt by it, but then Wardlow establishes that he can pick Hobbs up for the powerbomb anytime he wants, but Hobbs, doing a Rey Mysterio spot, goes over his back, slips down to his feet, and falls and looks like a stumble bum. Because they shouldn't have been doing that to begin with. That's for 180-pound people. And then Hobbs, the spot was that Hobbs was going to shove Wardlow off into the ropes, just a double hand shove, and he caught him coming off with a spine buster again. A, why it didn't phase him before, and B, you're going to drop behind the guy, turn around, do a double-handed shove. This other 300-pound guy is going to fly backwards 10 feet, come back off the ropes and into your spine buster because he's out of control from that? What the fuck? These guys need to be in goddamn class. And then he fucking followed the second spine buster up that, by the way, they sold that one. Wardlow sold that one. And then he grabbed Wardlow's leg and rolled him over and pushed him to the ropes again, double hand shove, and hit him a second spine buster. It's not even laziness. He's not trying to be lazy. It's just lost opportunity. Hobbs, you're wasting the idea. Don't just lackadaisically push him backwards into the ropes. If you're going to do 2 spine busters, especially after a motherfucker didn't sell your first one, do 3 in a row, the 3 amigos. And if you're going to do a series, make it count. You either shoot him off to the ropes hard with all you've got, or you reverse an arm whip and you shoot him off hard and you catch him and you plant him with the spine buster. And then you pop up and grab that leg and roll him up by the leg and grab the fucking left arm and shoot him off hard from the middle of the ring. Don't back him up. Keep him going. He's off balance. And you hit him with the second one. Boom. And he lands and he turns over on his hands and knees and he's holding his ribs. And there you can hook him in a front face lock and pull him up to his feet and shoot him again by his arm hard, but 5 or 6 feet to the ropes, where you don't even have to let go of him and jerk him back into your fucking bear hug and hit a third spine buster. Boom. And then you go for the fucking cover, hook the one leg, 1, 2, and he either kicks out if he's goddamn still should be in that good a condition, or he gets his leg on the fucking ropes and breaks the fucking count. But that's explosiveness and aggression and physicality that you could have uncorked and done the same thing you just did by wandering through it and being awkward and shoving guys around that they shouldn't go where you're fucking shoving them. And then they went to the floor, and Hobbs pulls a table out. And while he's setting it up and finding the table, setting it up and putting it in the right place, he lets Wardlow recover for no apparent reason. Because he could have just kept on the fucking guy that he was beating up, but instead he let him go so he could go find a table. Because the people are chanting for furniture anyway. Furniture is the most important talent on the roster. And then he puts Wardlow, obviously recovers and puts Hobbs on the table that Hobbs just set up and got on the top rope and did a swanton and swantoned Hobbs through the table, off the top rope, through to the floor for a 2 count. Jesus, it looked great. It looked great. So why do it and then go 2 more minutes and lose? You moron. So it wasn't the finish, or it wasn't the thing that foiled the babyface. It was just a spot. High injury risk, and nobody will give a shit because it didn't play a part in the decision of the match. So then Wardlow powerbombs Hobbs on the floor, and both of them are down for a while, and then they get up and go up to the stage, and Wardlow's going to try to powerbomb Hobbs off the stage. By the way, Wardlow, the babyface. And suddenly, QT Marshall shows up and hits Wardlow in the back with a chair. And Wardlow no-sells it, turns around and grabs him by the goozle pipe. And then QT kicks Wardlow in the balls, and down he drops. And QT has a chair, and Wardlow's there holding his nuts, looking at him, and he fucking hits him, whacks him with the chair. And then I think he hit him a second time. And then QT goes over and picks Hobbs up, because now Hobbs is just a piece of shit laying around. Picks him up, and then thanks to QT, they both powerbomb Wardlow off the stage into the crash pad pit. Which, by the way, they've changed their structure. It didn't go poof. It was covered up with balsa wood instead of a sheet. And I don't think it was air inflated. I believe they moved up styrofoam, if I had to guess. And then Wardlow was counted down for the 10 count in a Falls Count Anywhere match. And Hobbs is the new champion because of QT Marshall, who has been presented as a feckless, ineffectual comedy job figure for the entire run of the promotion, and suddenly comes out there and single-handedly helps his little buddy, Powerhouse Hobbs, beat the big bad Wardlow for the belt. This was the worst way possible to put the belt on Hobbs or to have Hobbs fucking win. And you can't tell me that they couldn't have made something out of Wardlow missing that goddamn swanton through the table and Hobbs pinning him there and give Wardlow an out instead of just this disgusting heat kind of finish that gets heat on the promotion for its goofiness. And nobody gives a shit about QT. And this coming from somebody who saw a bright future for him about 15 years ago. And Hobbs, it just becomes a fucking flunky. Is he now going to be Hobbs's manager? So they think that is I honestly don't know how the fuck, unless QT Marshall had pictures or documentation that Tony Khan has been doing business with the Sandinistan terrorists, that this would be allowed to happen. Your thoughts?
I mean, there's so much to talk about here. Again, this was a horrible follow-up to the pay-per-view. The pay-per-view was the first positive thing to happen to Wardlow in a while. That's out the window now. He's lost again. Oh, someone cheated to help Hobbs. Yeah, but it was QT Marshall. You said he's been treated like a job figure since the beginning. No, he was also treated like a philanderer for a few weeks, and then his wife was on TV. Remember that?
That's right. He was a philanthropist or philanderer or philatelist or whatever.
But he had the faction, or not the faction. What were their names? No, they weren't
the factory.
The factory. They were the factory. He had the factory. They tried to do things with Cody and Ogogo. That's years ago at this point. Nothing's been going on. We've seen QT do plenty of promos. He's fine for a Mark Sterling. He's not someone who should be the mouthpiece for a Will Hobbs or whoever the monster heel that they're trying to do something with. As soon as you have QT as the manager, the monster loses steam. We've seen him on TV. We know who he is. Wardlow looks like a jerk-off. That advice you gave him months ago about calling WWE?
203.
No, stop.
Actually, I can't give him Laurinaitis' number anymore.
But the point is, that isn't even a joke anymore. And I don't even know if they would see him the same way they saw him months ago. Look at the way all this has been handled. This is how this show ended. For no good reason, a street fight. After the TNT champion allegedly had his gear and his belt stolen. There was a brand new belt there ready to go days later. And then a street fight with a bad crash pad. You didn't even talk about how bad it looked. It was more obvious to me.
I think balsa wood over styrofoam sounds kind of like a fucking Mickey Mouse operation. I'm sorry I didn't do it justice.
It was worse than the Jericho crash pad. I'll put it that way. And there was no high distance to come from. So
I don't know. I think it's worse when they bounce and the thing goes poof and they bounce rather than when it just, it's obviously some type of cushioned material.
I forgot about the bounce.
Yeah. The bouncy house.
This was a horrible end to a horrible show. They've treated Wardlow. They booked Wardlow into the ground because Tony doesn't know how to book. They have misused Hobbs for a long time because Tony doesn't know how to book. QT is back on this show because Tony likes him and Tony doesn't know how to book. This show's been falling apart lately because Tony doesn't know how to book. More and more people.
But what do you think the real reason for their dire situation is?
The real reason for the dire situation is Tony Khan thinks he could book. And Tony Khan thinks he's good at this. Tony Khan thinks he has this. And I have a tough time believing that anyone who deals with him on a regular basis, and I know a few, thinks that he is good at this. He's got the money to do it, but he is showing on a weekly basis that he does not know how to format or how to put together a good wrestling television show. Again, there's a ninny audience that just wants to see their favorites have matches where nothing matters.
Did you say a mini audience or a ninny audience?
A ninny audience. They may be a mini audience too that wants that kind of wrestling. But if that's what you're catering to, you see what you're going to get. And this was another miserable show.
Well, how many people watched this miserable program, Brian?
This week's AEW show, March 8th, was viewed by 858,000 viewers.
Now, that sounds shitty, but that's about 20,000 better than last week, isn't it?
That's right. I think last week was 833 or somewhere around there.
So what was the process of elimination? Who ran them off the quickest this week?
Well, let's go to these quarter-hour breakdowns. These were compiled by Brandon Thurston, WrestleNomics. 8 to 8:15, segment 1, Orange Cassidy versus Jay Lethal with picture-in-picture, 963,000 viewers.
So something's going on. They're not even starting over 1 million anymore. Are the big bangers letting us down, or have people kind of realized that it's going to go downhill quick these days and just skipping it entirely?
What is it, a month straight they started the show with Orange Cassidy?
Yeah. Well, I just answered my own question, didn't I? Okay, go ahead.
You've seen the same thing from him for a month straight. Segment 2, 8:15 to 8:30. The last 4 minutes of Orange Cassidy versus Jay Lethal. The post-match with Jeff Jarrett and the Best Friends. The Powerhouse Hobbs backstage promo, as well as Ricky Starks' live promo with Juice Robinson running in. 962,000 viewers.
So they lost 1,000. Son of a bitch. Maybe Tony's sent out people to fucking snatch the remote controls away from the people's hands. So the ones that started, they were invested in old fucking dipshit. And let's see if they stuck around from there.
Segment 3, 8:30 to 8:45 p.m. Ruby Soho's live promo, as well as Ruby Soho versus Sky Blue with picture-in-picture. The post-match angle with Saraya, Tony Storm, Spray Paint, and Willow Nightingale, as well as Adam Page's backstage promo with Renee Moxley Good.
Good Lord, a lot of busy 15 minutes.
957,000 viewers.
Okay, and they're only down another 5,000. Where does the cliff come? Because this ain't adding up to be good for the last couple of segments.
Segment 4, 8:45 to 9 p.m. MJF's backstage promo, FTR's live promo, Jade Cargill's backstage promo, and the beginning of AR Fox and Top Flight versus the Jericho Appreciation Society. 884,000 viewers.
Ooh, all right. That's 60. They lost 75,000 people or thereabouts going into the 9 o'clock hour.
Segment 5, 9 p.m. to 9:15 p.m. The continuation of AR Fox and Top Flight versus the Jericho Appreciation Society with picture-in-picture.
And remember, they went to break like 2 minutes after the top of the hour.
As well as the post-match angle with the Elite and the House of Black. 838,000 viewers.
Good. Okay, so they lost another 46,000 there. So between the 8:30 to 8:45 and 9 o'clock to 9:15 time slot, they've lost 120,000 people.
Segment 6, 9:15 to 9:30 p.m. Tony Khan's backstage announcement, Bryan Danielson's promo, and the beginning of the Dark Order versus the Blackpool Combat Club. 778,000 viewers.
Jesus. All right. There, I can't do math this big. Wait a minute. 22. There is another 60,000 people they lost. So they are now down from the quarter 3 to quarter 6, 180,000 people. Go ahead.
Quarter 7, 9:30 to 9:45. The Dark Order versus the Blackpool Combat Club continued with picture-in-picture, as well as the post-match angle with Adam Page, the Acclaimed and Jericho Appreciation Society backstage angle. 728,000 viewers.
Ouch. And I must have zipped through some of that too, but so did 50,000 other people. We are now, from the start of the program, down 235,000 people from the start of the program.
Hey, you bring up the Acclaimed. I had to mention this to you. I was watching CBS News the other day in the morning. They had a commercial for PC Richard. Do you know PC Richard? It's a electronics chain up here in the Northeast.
I think I've seen billboards when I've been up that way.
They have a commercial for it. Who's in the middle of the commercial as like one of the happy salespeople or happy PC Richards people? Anthony Bowens. He must have filmed this a while back, but all of a sudden I'm watching, like, is that Anthony Bowens? And then it came on again later. I was like, that is Anthony Bowens. And I looked it up. It was Anthony Bowens.
Did he really work there, or was he just in the commercial?
I think he was just an actor, and they needed people to be smiling, happy, nice PC Richards employees, and they found him, and Then he won the tag team titles. So, well, let's get back to the ratings. The final quarter hour, 9:45 to 10 p.m. Wardlow versus Powerhouse Hobbs. Falls count anywhere for the TNT Championship. 756,000 viewers.
So they managed to get back 28,000 to see Hobbs and Wardlow, and they had to see what they saw. And it hurt both guys. It hurt both guys.
And the key demo, for the record, the key demo, I know some people hate hearing about it, but it's a reality. It's a real thing. They began at 385. They peaked early in the show at 436. By the end of it, it was at 315. That's below the usual trend line for where that is even.
Well, anyway, so they managed in an hour and 30 minutes, they ran off 235,000 people, and for the last 15 minutes managed to get 28,000 of them back. Glory, hallelujah.
Can a booker who's completely lost hear voices that are saying things to improve his product, or are they convinced that they've got it? From your experience, I mean, you were around. I mean, you've always pointed out the positives of Dusty's stuff, even when people point out negatives like 88. But when a booker doesn't have it.
Late 87 was worse than early 88. Late 87 and first 3 months of 88 were not good. But still, I've never been around. Number one, I've never been around a booker who had never booked before and had never been in the wrestling business. There never has been a booker who started booking when he had never, ever been in the wrestling business in any capacity before. And I've never been around a situation where anybody would have been able to do this for so long without somebody firing them. Because Crockett would have fired Dusty if it had got that bad. I know I've heard stories of when territories fell apart, Buck Robley was on the shit, or, things just weren't happening and it was a mess and the territory was soon to go out of business. I've never been involved in a situation like that where the booker just completely lost track of what the fuck, or they couldn't get any talent. But, there's never been a situation where any booker, writer, creative team, or whatever was not at risk of getting fired if they didn't do the right thing or decent business or kept doing stupid shit or whatever. And this is the case now because Tony's also the boss. Even Vince wasn't even Vince was never the booker. Pat Patterson was the booker, and Vince had creative teams. He was the final say, but he wasn't doing it all himself. And he could be reasoned with in some instances. This is a guy who, if he does listen to anybody, it's for the circle that he will listen to hear their self-indulgent ideas pitched that, which doesn't fit the rest of the program anyway, and is usually the shits too. The only one that's ever really come in and called his own shots for any length of time and had all been good was Punk. So this is a situation that's never happened before in wrestling at this scale. You've had indie promoters that would promote indie shows that insisted on doing their booking and wrestling and being their own champion and popping the corn and whatever the fuck. And it didn't make any difference because nobody knew they were there. But this is goddamn out in front of everybody. And it needs to be put in a plain brown wrapper. Anyway,